Today, we're continuing our relationship series called Married Friends. And today, our topic is managing conflict like teammates. Now, this reminds me of one of my favorite teammates of all time. And it was a guy who I played basketball with in high school. We played for the team, and we were on the same skill level. Not very good. But I appreciate him because we could empathize with each other. And so I wasn't the last one who was finishing the running drills. I wasn't the one who had zero stats across the board. Like, we could empathize with each other. So it's like, oh man, I scored 0 points. So did you. Woo! We're like, man, I'm not the last one who's running. Like, we're running together. So it was great to have someone to empathize with. And so one practice, coach decides to have us run a drill where every player was for themselves. So there was about maybe 12, 13 of us. And the goal of the drill was that each person tried to score a basket. If you scored a basket, then you get to eliminate someone else on the team. Now, right away, our top players on the team started scoring and started eliminating the best competition that they were afraid of. When the rest of us realized this, we were like, okay, we got to get rid of the best player because if they keep on going at this pace, they're going to win. Now, in the end, the two worst players, me and my favorite teammate, were left, along with another scrawny guy, but he had a pretty good shot. And so we were like, all right, we got to duke it out because Winner didn't have to run. Everyone else had to run, but Winner didn't have to run. And so the scrawny guy, he gets the ball because he was the last to eliminate somebody. He takes a shot, and surprisingly, he missed. So we frantically chased the rebound, and at that moment, I was like, I got to get the ball, I got to score because I don't want to run because I've been running all practice. I've never had a break, and so I'm like, I got to figure this out. I gotta win. But at that moment, I was like, Kong, you can't take on the scrawny guy one-on-one, Like, what do you got to do? What do you got to do? And so in that moment, I was like, all right, because me and my favorite teammate, we're on the same skill level, I'm going to take the less spectacular route of scoring, and I'm going to block out the scrawny guy. Being a chubby guy, I'm going to do the best thing I can, get in somebody's way. And so I block him out. And then my favorite teammate gets the ball, puts up a layup, he scores, and it's the two worst players left standing for the first time on my high school basketball team. It was a beautiful moment, probably the most beautiful moment in my basketball career, and it was a very short career. We did it with teamwork, and even if I didn't win, I would have been fine knowing that one of us did. You see, a good teammate is someone who works well with you because they help you achieve the goal. And the same thing is true when it comes to marriage. Now, one piece of advice that I received that's been super helpful for me about marriage came from a marriage retreat called The Weekend to Remember. And the advice was this, that your spouse is not your enemy. Your spouse is not your enemy. Oftentimes, when I'm in a heated argument with Pang, I'm like, oh, man, like, why, why? But then I'm always reminded, like, when I cool down, like, she's not my enemy. She's on my team. We may have differences. We may have different approaches and perspectives to find a solution with whatever we have a conflict with. But again, we're on the same team. So that has helped me turn towards her and not away from her so that we can find a resolution. Now, similarly, we've been exploring John Gottman's book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. And he has concepts that are very similar when it comes to dealing with conflict. And so Gottman believes that there's two types of conflict in marriage. There are solvable conflicts, and then there are perpetual conflicts. Solvable conflicts are focused on a particular dilemma or situation. Generally, solvable conflicts are less painful, less intense. There are no deeper meanings behind the conflict or the issue, and solutions can be found and maintained. And so here's an example of what a solvable problem can look like. And so every Sunday, take this Sunday, you're driving to church, and whoever's driving to church, if it's the husband, if it's the wife, you're speeding, you're driving way too fast. And the partner's like, hey, why are you speeding? You're like, well, I'm speeding because I don't want to be late to service because Pastor Kong's here, and if we miss out on Pastor Kong, then, we miss out on service. And so your partner's like, well, we wouldn't have to speed if, you helped out with the dishes, if you helped the kids get ready, those were some situations that came up that's causing the speed. So what's the solution? Solution is pretty simple. Maybe we can wake up a little earlier. Maybe someone does the dishes while the other person gets the kids ready. Maybe we skip breakfast and we have all the yummy breakfast options here at the St. Paul campus instead of having to worry about breakfast at home. And so again, it's something that we can solve, something that we have many solutions to, something we can figure out. Now, perpetual conflicts, on the other hand, are problems that center on a fundamental difference between you and your partner. It's when one of your values differ from your partner, or maybe it's a moment when your value isn't a value of your partner's. And these problems will forever be a part of the relationship. That's what Gottman says. They will forever be in the relationship. They will continue to pop up over and over again. Gottman says that 69% of marital conflicts are perpetual conflict. So let's take a similar scenario that we talked about a little earlier. You're driving to church, you're speeding, you're like 20 miles over the speed limit, your partner's upset with how fast you drive to church. You tell your partner, hey, I've never been in an accident before. I'm a safe driver. Your partner responds to you by telling you that you don't care about anybody's safety. You're speeding and you don't care about my safety. And then you respond by saying, well, you don't trust me. Notice the difference of how there's deeper meanings behind this conflict and this scenario when it comes to perpetual conflict. It isn't about speeding. It isn't about being on time. It isn't an easy solution to find. It's about safety. It's about trust. It's about very important things that we need to understand that, hey, we're doing well. And so again, when it comes to perpetual conflicts, it touches on deeper issues. It touches on, again, values that are core to who we are. But here's the thing. With perpetual conflict, happy couples and healthy couples can still exist. You can still have perpetual conflict and you can still be happy in your relationship. You can still experience a healthy relationship. The difference is this. It's how you deal with your conflict. It's how you deal with your conflict. They may never go resolved. Your perpetual conflicts may never go resolved, but healthy and happy couples find ways to cope and find ways to manage them. They are constantly working out their differences. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse, but they acknowledge the problem, they talk about it, and then talking about it helps prevent them from feeling overwhelmed by it. If couples aren't able to manage perpetual conflict, they experience what Gottman calls gridlock. And gridlock happens when couples mishandle their conflict, causing them to feel rejected by each other. Their conflict results in no progress. And so when they talk about the issue, they're stuck in their ways, they're unwilling to budge. One partner is firm on their position, the other one is firm on their position. When they engage in further conversations, they end up feeling more frustrated, they end up feeling more hurt. Conversations are devoid of humor, amusement, affection. You begin to see your partner as the enemy, causing you to eventually disengage emotionally from them. Trust in each other declines, and each person feels like the other is the selfish one. And then a few weeks back, we talked about the 4 horsemen of critique, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. These are 4 relationship-killing communication styles that are present when you experience gridlock that will eventually lead to the death of the relationship. And so what can we do? What can we do? Thankfully, there are solutions to how we can handle our conflict, and if we are in gridlock, there are solutions to how we can get out of gridlock. And so before we dive into this process of figuring out how to get out of conflict, how to get out of gridlock, or how to manage it, not to get out of it, because there's always going to be conflict, but how to manage it, how to cope with it, here are just some general principles that we can always fall back on whenever we experience conflict in relationships. And so the first is this. Negative emotions hold important information about how to love each other better. Express your negative emotions in a way that allows your partner to hear what you need without attacking them. And so it's okay to share with them what you're frustrated about, what you're angry about, what you're disappointed about, but do it in a way that doesn't attack their character, doesn't attack who they are. Express it in a way where they can hear what's your need. And as the recipient of that, know that that's important information that may not sound nice and pleasant, but there's important information when your partner's giving you negative emotions of how you can care for them, how you can love them better, because they are expressing a need that they have. Second, both individuals have a perspective on the conflict that is valid. One person isn't right while the other person is wrong. Again, each have a valid perspective. And so understand that, again, the basis when it comes to conflict is that we both have valid perspectives. Third, always accept your partner. When your partner starts to feel like they're being criticized, disliked, or underappreciated, it's really hard for them to change or even want to change. And so communicate always, even in the midst of frustrations, disappointment, anger, communicate that you accept them. Make sure your partner feels known. Make sure they feel respected, rather than feeling criticized or demeaned. Be fond and admire each other. You can communicate anger, frustration, disappointment, and hurt to your partner in respectful ways. And so whatever the issue is, give each other the message that they are loved and accepted, even when you have conflict with each other. So with that in mind, here are 5 steps that you can take to solve your problems, your solvable problems, your perpetual problems. And they are this: soft startup, repair attempts, soothe yourself and each other, compromise, and process grievances. Let's start with the first one, soft startup. A soft startup includes these elements. Share responsibility for the issue. When conflict arises, it's not one-sided. We all have some responsibility in it. So share your responsibility issue, state how you feel about the specific situation, and then let your partner know what it is that you need. Soft startups share a complaint without blaming, without criticizing the other person's character. You can express this complaint with an I statement instead of a you statement, because I statements come from me, my perspective. This is how I feel. This is how I perceive the situation. You statements can be very blaming. They can feel very attacking. And so I statements are always key. You can use this formula to help with a soft startup. I feel, fill in the blank with emotion about whatever the situation is, and then I need, fill in the blank of what you need. And so a formula for soft startup is I feel, fill in the blank with what you feel about what the situation is, and I need, state your need. Now, when it comes to need, be clear about your needs. And I know this can be hard for some of us because we grew up being taught that we were supposed to care for others and look out for others' needs and not our own, which is a very beautiful thing. But at the same time, when it comes to your partner, be clear about your needs. It's essential to understand that your partner can't read your mind. And so politely tell them what it is that you need. Second, make and receive repair attempts. Now, if you look at the back of your bulletin, there's an assessment on repair attempts, and so feel free to take that sometime later, sometime today, to see how you're doing with repair attempts. But think of repair attempts as the car brakes that help you slow down. When you see a dangerous turn coming up on the road, you hit the brakes to slow down so that you don't get into danger. When it comes to relationships, repair attempts help us slow down when we feel negativity, when we feel the negativity, the tension start to escalate. And so repair attempts prevent negativity from spiraling out of control. When it comes to repair attempts, they help de-escalate the tension. It can be a variety of statements like this. Hey, I realized I blew it. Let me try that again. Or, hey, how can I make things better? It can be a statement pointing out things that you agree with, like, hey, I agree with a part of what you're saying. I never thought of it that way. It can be a statement requesting a calmer shift, like, hey, I noticed we're getting really heated. Can we change our tones? Or, hey, can you be a little gentler? It would help me to discuss this in a calmer way. It could be something that you say to stop the tension from escalating, like, hey, I'm feeling flooded. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need to take a break. And it can even be appreciation. You can show appreciation in conflict and say something like, hey, I see your point. I understand where you're coming from. What's important about repair attempts is that you and your partner have to find some key words, have to find some key phrases that help you identify when someone is trying to make a repair attempt. And so for Peng and I, sometimes when we're in the midst of an argument and I'm like, hey, I got to shift this because if we don't, we're just going to keep on going down that negativity hole. Oftentimes I'll address her, hey, dear, can we talk about this in a different way? And those are kind of our code words. We're like, okay, Kong's trying to make a repair attempt. Peng sometimes in the midst of our arguments will just kind of stop and kind of laugh, like, why are we arguing about this, And that makes me realize, oh, she's trying to make a repair. She's trying to pull us back from going down that downward spiral. And so make it clear, agree on phrases, agree on something that will help your partner know that, hey, I'm trying to make a repair attempt. Third, soothe yourself and soothe your partner. And so conflict can often lead you to feeling flooded. And again, feeling flooded means you're physically overwhelmed. And so when you are flooded, repair attempts don't work. Inform your partner that you need a break to take care of yourself. I think about if you've ever been to Colorado or to places where there's mountains, I always hate seeing the sign, hot brakes fail. I'm like, that's scary, man. And so when you're driving down the mountain and you constantly on your brakes, it heats up the rotors. And so when you hit the brakes, like your car doesn't slow down if you're always on your brake. And so likewise, if your conflict is always hot and you try to make that repair attempt, it's not going to work. And so soothe yourself by taking a break, 20 minutes at least, and call that break on yourself. Don't call that break on your partner because that's going to take you down another road. And so call that break on yourself. And when you feel calm, you can help soothe your partner too. And the great thing about this is that it can help your partner associate you with relaxation rather than stress. A quick note, Gottman has found that men, it's harder for us to calm down. And so if you need longer time to calm down, it's okay to take a longer time. But again, take a break, soothe yourself, soothe your partner. Fourth, compromise. This is the only way to solve problems based on Gottman. You can't get everything your way because it creates iniquity, it creates unfairness. And so compromise only works when you've taken the first 3 steps that we've talked about. And compromise involves negotiating and finding ways to accommodate each other's needs. It's not giving up all your needs for the sake of your partner. It's not a bad Hmong love song of like, hey, I'm giving everything up so that you can benefit. Again, it's negotiating and finding ways to accommodate each other's needs. And so not one person loses out, but both person can again get what they need. You don't have to agree with everything your spouse offers, but you must be open to considering their position. And again, men, when it comes to compromise, it's harder for us to accept compromise. And so again, just something to be aware of. And then lastly, process any grievances so that they don't linger. And so being able to compromise is great, but we don't walk away from conflict without feeling the scars from it. And so address any emotional injuries that may have occurred from the conflict. You can choose a specific incident that you were hurt from. Decide who gets to speak first, who gets to listen first as you process the hurt. Share what you felt, share what you need, identify, explore any triggers, acknowledge your role in what happened, tell your partner what it is that you want to apologize for. Look ahead. Create constructive plans by asking some of these questions. What's one thing I can do to avoid having this conflict again? What's one thing you can do to avoid having this kind of conflict again? Now, if these 5 steps don't work and we can't solve our problems, it can lead us to experience gridlock. And gridlock is very dangerous because when we're stuck in gridlock, again, we can't get past the conflict. You start to harbor negative feelings toward your partner. And so again, when it comes to gridlock, it's a dangerous place to be in because you slowly disengage emotionally from your partner, and that leads to just you not wanting to be with them. And so when it comes to gridlock, here's the thing about gridlock. You don't have to solve the problem. You don't have to come up with a resolution to the problem. With gridlock, you just have to simply acknowledge and discuss the issue without hurting each other. Let me say that again. When it comes to gridlock, you just have to acknowledge and discuss the issue without hurting each other. It's connecting with each other. So again, you don't have to find a resolution. It's just acknowledging and discussing the issue without hurting each other. And so when you experience gridlock, Gottman says that gridlock represents something deeper. It represents something else that's not just the issue. Gridlock means that you have dreams for your life that your partner isn't aware of, hasn't acknowledged, or maybe doesn't respect. Now, when we talk about dreams, what I mean is your hopes, your aspirations, your wishes, the things that give purpose to you, to your life, and to your relationship. And so, again, they are the values that drive you. Now, for some of us, dreams can be very practical. It could be something very simple, like, or very concrete, like, I want to save $5,000 in our account. Whereas somebody can be like, I want to be, the richest person in the world, or I want to be, rich in everything. And so again, the dreams are a little, can be practical, to be abstract, but underneath the dreams, this is important, underneath the dreams, you want to find, there's a desire for something important, like security, stability, generosity, success, whatever it may be. There's a deeper value underneath that. And so again, it's believed that these deep dreams that we have, these deep values that we have, are frequently rooted in our childhood. And so it hurts when our partner doesn't respect them, because they are something that we have seen the world with, seen our relationships with. It's something that we've built our foundation of relationships on. And so again, it's something much deeper. And so when it comes to gridlock, if you do experience yourself in gridlock, what's the solution? What's the solution? Gottman says that we have to become dream detectives. We need to identify which dreams are fueling the conflict. And so be willing to explore each other's dreams. Sometimes these dreams are hidden because we don't feel safe to share them. And so create a safe space. One good indicator that you're wrestling with a hidden dream is that you consider your spouse to be the reason why the marriage is difficult. Let me say that again. One good indicator that you're wrestling with a hidden dream is that you consider your spouse to be the problem of the marriage. And so criticizing your spouse can often be an indicator of a hidden dream that you have that maybe you haven't communicated yet. It can indicate that you don't see your part in creating the conflict because it's hidden from your view. And being able to uncover a hidden dream is a challenge because, again, it's unlikely to emerge until you feel like your marriage is a safe place to talk about. And so work on the three principles we talked about a little earlier of a soft startup, repair, and soothing yourself and each other to create that safe place. Now, when you get to a place where you can talk about your dreams, talk about them honestly and what it means to you. Explain where it comes from, what it symbolizes. Don't censor, don't downplay your feelings. Don't talk little about your dreams. Don't suspend all judgment. Hear the dream. Encourage your partner to explore it. You see, supporting dreams doesn't mean that you necessarily have to believe in the dream. If your partner has a dream, doesn't mean that you necessarily have to believe it or that it needs to be realized. But again, you simply express understanding that, hey, I know that that is a dream of yours. Now, Gottman offers this, that there are 3 levels to supporting dreams, that you can simply express understanding and be interested in learning more. That's as simple as it gets. The next level of supporting dreams is that you can actively enable the dream by helping your partner invest in it. And so say if your partner has a dream like, I want to climb Mount Everest, investing in it is like, hey, let's save up some money so that you can go climb Mount Everest. Maybe we could take some, you could take some climbing lessons. The third level of supporting dreams is that you become a part of your partner's dreams. And so it's not just, hey, let's save money so that you can go to Mount Everest, so that you can take climbing lessons, but hey, let's save money so that we can go to Mount Everest and that we can climb this together. Again, getting past gridlock is to honor these dreams. And those are 3 different levels of how you can honor them. You don't have to, again, make them a reality, but again, simply understanding them, remove the hurt that comes from the conflict. When it comes to happy couples are aware of each other's dreams, and in relationships that are the most satisfying, partners incorporate each other's dreams into their concept of what marriage is about. And so you include your partner's dreams into how you see the relationship. It increases intimacy, it increases connection. Again, the goal isn't to solve the problem, but to find a way to live peacefully with it. And lastly, to get out of gridlock, say thank you. Show gratitude to your partner. Express your appreciation of the qualities that your partner demonstrates in your conversation. See, at the core of managing conflict like teammates is this. At the core, it's respect. Respecting your partner means you value them for who they are and what they have to offer. You need to treat your partner with dignity. You need to see them in a positive regard and acknowledge their capabilities. And to do this, we need to be aware of how we think of them and how we see them. And so in our Bible passage that Paul read earlier in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 to 24, we're given an illustration and a reminder of how we can do this, how we can think of our partner. And so let me read parts of it again. This is what it says. The Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." And then in verse 21, this is what it says. So the Lord caused the man to fall into deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs, then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. The man said, "This is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh." You see, when God created humanity, he didn't design any of us to fly solo. We weren't meant to do this by ourselves. When God saw Adam by himself, God said that it wasn't good, and so God made a helper for Adam. Now, when we think of helper, or at least when I think of a helper, oftentimes I think of a helper as someone inferior to who they are helping. And so if you think about a teacher and a teacher assistant, or a head coach and an assistant coach, and a principal and an assistant principal, we get this notion, or maybe at least I do, that the teacher, the head coach, the principal, they are superior to their assistant. But in Genesis, if we read it in its original language, the Hebrew language, the word helper conveys something very different from someone being superior and someone being inferior. In the Hebrew language, helper conveys this idea of someone who comes to relieve others who are desperately in need of help, or it might even mean to rescue someone who is unable to protect themselves. Helper has military connotations, illustrating an ally supporting their neighboring country. And this suggests that because the helper has the capability to help them, they have the same capabilities, they have the same ability, they have the same power to provide that help. Now, biblically speaking, the helper does not appear to be inferior to who they are helping. They are just as capable, and if not more. If we continue to look further in the Old Testament outside of Genesis, the word helper not only describes the partner that God created for Adam, but helper is also used, that same word is used to reference God and how he helps his people. So in Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 29, this is what it says. "Blessed are you, Israel. Who is like you, a people saved by the Lord? He is your shield and helper." There's that word helper. "And your glorious sword. Your enemies will cower before you, and you will tread on their heights." Israel is blessed because they rely on their helper. And notice the contrast here in Hosea chapter 13, verse 9. This is what it says. "You are destroyed, Israel, because you are against me, against your helper." So in the same way that Israel is blessed, in the same way that Israel is destroyed, it's because they are against God's help. This is the image that a helper paints when it comes to God's design for marriage. That God created Adam, who was capable of doing many things, and he saw that Adam needed a helper too. So he created Eve to help him. And because Adam was created in God's image and Eve was created in God's image, that they were to help each other like teammates. When it comes to marriage, God gives a teammate to us to help us. Our healthy relationships, our happy marriages, they all depend on a willingness to be teammates, to work through our conflicts. Again, it's more than just you. It's more than just me. It's the both of us. So find ways to be a team with your partner. Your spouse is not your enemy. God created you to help each other. Let's pray.